What Honda just announced at EICMA might be the single most dangerous move Harley-Davidson has ever faced, and it has nothing to do with horsepower. Honda revealed a bike designed to win the riders Harley can't reach anymore, new, younger, budget-minded riders who want reliability first. Once Honda earns their trust, Harley has no way to pull them back. This isn't just a new model. It's a shift in who controls the future of motorcycling. Watch till the end, because if you ride, buy, or own a Harley, what Honda just triggered could hit closer to home than you think. The EICMA reveal that shifted the ground under riders. Every rider knows the feeling, that moment when the industry takes a turn you can sense in your gut before anyone puts numbers on a page. That moment happened at EICMA this year. And the air in the hall changed the second Honda pulled the cover off its most unexpected move. It was not a flashy superbike. It was not a redesigned tourer. It was something smaller, sharper, and far more dangerous to the American cruiser world than anyone wanted to admit. Because the machine Honda revealed speaks directly to the future of riding, not the past that Harley built its empire on. When the lights hit the Honda Shine 125, the reaction was not loud. It was quiet, focused, the kind of attention that comes from people who understand what this model means. Honda did not chase performance numbers or chrome or size. Honda chased influence, and influence wins wars long before a single sale is made. The Shine 125 is a reminder that the battle for the motorcycle industry does not always begin with horsepower. It begins with the first machine a rider trusts. If you control the starting point, you control the next 40 years of loyalty. Harley knows this. Honda knows this even better. EICMA did not just introduce a motorcycle, it introduced a threat. And the deeper you look, the clearer it becomes that this was not an accident in the slightest. Honda's calculated play against America's cruiser backbone. You do not spend decades riding without learning the difference between a coincidence and a calculated strike. Honda's announcement at EICMA was no coincidence. It was a direct play aimed at the heart of America's cruiser culture, not by copying Harley, not by chasing Harley's strengths, but by targeting the one area Harley has never fully controlled, the rider's first step into motorcycling. Honda studied the American market with the patience of a company that has already beaten giants before. It saw Harley leaning harder into heavyweight pricing. It saw rising barriers for new riders, and it saw a wide open lane that no American manufacturer was defending. Then Honda drove straight into it with a motorcycle designed to dominate emerging riders around the world. The Shine 125 is not built to compete with a Road King or an Ultra. It is built to compete with time itself. It gives new riders a machine they can afford, understand, maintain, and trust. And once trust is formed, brand loyalty follows. That is how generations shift. That is how markets turn. Not through brute force, but through patient, precise positioning. Honda knows Harley cannot counter with a lightweight, low-cost system without rewriting its identity. Harley is trapped by the image it created. Honda is free to build whatever riders want next. This is the move you make when you are not playing for this year's sales. And it strikes at a weakness Harley has struggled to outrun for more than a decade. If you're following how this shift affects real riders, take a moment to like the video and subscribe so you never miss the next update. Share your thoughts below, because what Honda revealed today is reshaping conversations across every garage in the country. Harley's quiet weak spot. Anyone who has watched Harley over the years knows the truth that rarely gets said out loud. Harley's core riders are aging. They are loyal, they are proud, and they have carried the brand on their backs for generations. But time does what time always does. Riders grow older, bones get tired, knees get stiff, and eventually the question becomes not about passion, but about practicality. Harley has relied on this loyal base for so long that it has not built a clear path for the next generation. The machines remain large, the pricing remains high, the weight remains unforgiving. The distance between a beginner rider and a Harley showroom has grown wider with each model year. Meanwhile, younger riders are entering the sport with different expectations and different needs, and the brands that welcome them early will own their loyalty for decades. This is the silent vulnerability Honda identified. Harley is not losing riders because its machines are unworthy. Harley is losing riders because the entry point into its world has become unreachable for many who would love to join. The Shine 125 hits this gap with pinpoint accuracy. It gives new riders a doorway Harley has never been able to build. Harley's base is strong, but strength without renewal eventually becomes fragility. As the industry keeps changing, stay prepared. Check the description for gears and accessories built for real riders. And Honda's smallest announcement might be the one that exploits that fragility the most. Why the Honda Shine 125 is the most dangerous bike of the year. Of all the motorcycles unveiled this year, none carries more long-term impact than the Honda Shine 125. Not because of power, not because of technology, but because it represents the purest form of strategic disruption the motorcycle world has seen in years. Manufacturers fight over touring markets, adventure markets, and cruiser markets. Honda went after something far more valuable: the beginner market that shapes the future of every other category. The Shine 125 is the kind of motorcycle riders start on and stay loyal. It is light, approachable, affordable, and mechanically honest. It builds confidence instead of fear. It invites riders rather than intimidates them. And once a rider begins their journey on a machine that never breaks their trust, that bond becomes almost impossible to undo. This is the real danger for Harley. First motorcycles shape habits. First motorcycles shape expectations. First motorcycles shape brand loyalty that lasts a lifetime. If Honda captures the next generation at the starting line, Harley will be competing for riders who have already chosen their side before they ever sit on a cruiser. The Shine 125 is not a small move. It is a long game strike designed to reshape the entire future of motorcycling in markets around the world, including America. This is the bike that could end Harley's dominance not through competition, but through replacement. And once you understand that, the rest of the industry's reaction makes perfect sense. What new riders actually want in 2026? Spend enough time watching the newer generation of riders, and you start to notice something. They are not chasing the same qualities that defined earlier decades. They are not looking for the biggest engine or the heaviest frame. Instead, they want machines that feel manageable, affordable, and flexible. For them, a motorcycle is less about claiming an identity and more about fitting a ride into the rhythm of everyday life. The roads are the same, but the expectations guiding the next wave of riders are shifting fast. Younger riders grew up with technology shaping almost every part of their world. They expect clarity, efficiency, and reliability. They want motorcycles that respond quickly at low speeds, sip fuel rather than swallow it, and remain simple enough to maintain without constant dealership visits. They do not see riding as an escape from responsibility. They see it as a complement to responsibility, something that needs to work consistently without draining time or money. What stands out most is how practical their mindset has become. Where older riders often chased long-distance comfort or heavyweight character, new riders look for ease and adaptability. A motorcycle that feels natural from the first minute earns their trust quickly. Brands that fail to offer this simplicity fall off their radar before they ever get considered. These priorities reshape the entire future of motorcycling, because the riders entering the sport today will define its direction for decades to come. Understanding those priorities helps explain why seasoned riders respond differently to the same machines. Why experienced riders quietly appreciate Honda's predictability. Riders who have spent decades on the road rarely choose a motorcycle based on excitement alone. Experience teaches lessons that stay with you long after the first 1,000 miles. You learn which machines run cool on hot days, which ones feel stable in crosswinds, and which ones ask more from your hands and back than you are willing to give. Reliability becomes a point of pride, not just a feature. When a motorcycle starts every time, behaves consistently, and demands little more than honest maintenance, it earns respect. This is where Honda has built a quiet but powerful advantage. Many experienced riders appreciate machines that do not surprise them in the wrong ways. Predictability becomes its own form of comfort. You can plan long weekends, multi-state trips, and everyday errands without worrying whether the bike will develop new quirks along the way. Over time, that consistency becomes invaluable. Riders who do their own service work also appreciate clear access to components and engines that do not require specialty tools for every adjustment. When a motorcycle respects your time, it builds trust. Honda's reputation for minimizing complications speaks directly to riders who understand the value of simple engineering done well. That trust is not built through marketing. It is built through years of dependable miles. And for riders who have seen many machines come and go, the value of predictability becomes a personal metric for choosing their next ride. But predictability also highlights a challenge that some riders feel more sharply with every passing season: the growing physical toll of heavy cruisers in everyday riding. There comes a point in every rider's journey when the body begins to influence decisions as much as enthusiasm does. This does not mean the passion fades. It simply means the rider changes. Years of long trips, slow speed turns, and parking lot maneuvers take a quiet but steady toll. Heavy cruisers that once felt commanding can start feeling demanding. The weight that used to inspire confidence can begin adding strain to shoulders, knees, and lower backs. This shift happens gradually. Riders notice it when pushing a bike out of a garage becomes a little more tiring. They feel it when lifting a motorcycle from the side stand takes more effort than it used to. Heat rising from large engines on summer days adds discomfort that lingers longer after the ride ends. None of these changes diminish a rider's love for the road. They simply reshape what the body asks for in a motorcycle. Manufacturers who understand this transition design motorcycles that offer comfort without excess. Lighter platforms, balanced chassis, and manageable seat heights give riders the freedom to keep enjoying long miles without unnecessary fatigue. These features do not replace the tradition of heavyweight cruisers, but they offer an alternative that aligns with the realities of aging riders. The most dedicated riders do not stop riding because they lose interest. They stop when the effort outweighs the reward, and that realization sets the stage for a deeper cultural shift widening within motorcycling today. The cultural shift from riding for identity to riding for utility. Motorcycling has always carried a strong sense of identity. For many years, riders chose certain machines because of what those machines represented. A heavyweight cruiser symbolized freedom, rebellion, and individuality. A sport bike signaled precision and adrenaline. These associations shaped entire generations of riders and created communities built around shared style and values. But the meaning of riding is changing, and the next generation approaches motorcycles with a different perspective. For many new riders, a motorcycle is not a symbol. It is a tool that must justify its place in daily life. Utility carries more weight than image. Simple storage, low operating costs, easy maneuverability, and predictable behavior matter more than loud aesthetics or dramatic bodywork. Modern riders gravitate toward machines that fit their schedules, budgets, and living spaces. Riding becomes part of a balanced lifestyle rather than a defining trait. This shift does not erase the heritage of motorcycling, it expands it. When riders begin making decisions based on usefulness rather than identity alone, brands must adjust quickly or risk becoming disconnected from emerging expectations. Practicality becomes a cultural trend, not just a budget-driven choice. The more riding becomes integrated into everyday life, the more riders expect motorcycles to feel adaptable rather than demanding. The brands that embrace this truth will shape the next era of motorcycling. And this cultural shift explains why Honda's strategy resonates across generations while forcing competitors to rethink their next moves. What dealers are whispering about: Honda's new lineup. Walk into enough dealerships and you start to hear the same tone behind the counter. It is not panic, but it is not confidence either. It is the quiet kind of worry that spreads before the numbers show anything dramatic. Sales managers speak in softer voices. Techs shake their heads when certain models get mentioned. The floor staff watches foot traffic with a different kind of focus. You can tell when a showroom feels different, and that shift is happening now. Honda's newest lineup has unsettled more than a few dealerships across the country. It is not because the bikes are flashy, it is because they are targeted. Dealers notice that riders who once came in looking for familiar heavyweight shapes are asking more questions about mid-weight platforms and long-term dependability. Those questions are not new, but the frequency is rising. The veterans behind the desk see the trend building one conversation at a time. This shift has dealers unsettled because it signals a deeper change in rider expectations. Honda is not stealing buyers outright. It is guiding them toward machines that feel easier to own and justify. These shifts appear long before sales charts show them. Dealers sense the tremors first, the hesitation, the curiosity, and the quiet comparisons riders make while walking the floor. Those comparisons become even more important when you look at what shapes used bike values next. If you want the truth behind every move shaping the future of riding, subscribe now and stay with this channel. The signals coming from inside the industry are changing fast, and the next story may influence the decisions you make about your own bike. How entry-level choices could shake up used bike values. Every used motorcycle tells a story, and riders know that value is never just about age or condition. It is about supply, demand, and what the market is drifting toward. When a brand releases a new entry-level machine that captures attention, the ripple hits the used market long before the new bikes ever sell out. That ripple has already begun, because riders are rethinking what they want from their first motorcycle. When more new riders start on approachable, low-maintenance machines, the appeal of older, heavier used bikes begins to soften. It is not that those machines lose their charm. It is that they no longer match the priorities of incoming riders who want something easy to control, inexpensive to run, and simple to service. Trade-ins begin to reflect this shift, and dealerships notice it quickly. Riders feel the shift when selling or upgrading, as the market now favors practicality over size or image. Models that once held strong value may lose ground in a landscape driven by ease and efficiency. Depreciation grows unpredictable, and owners watch familiar motorcycles lose worth faster than expected. And the deeper reason for that shift becomes clearer once you study how these machines are built. Honda's manufacturing advantage versus Harley's pricing reality. Manufacturers live or die by how efficiently they can build motorcycles. Honda operates on a global scale that gives it a significant edge in this area. Its factories produce massive volumes, refine processes to near perfection, and spread development costs across multiple regions. This scale allows Honda to build motorcycles that remain consistent, durable, and cost-effective without sacrificing quality. It is not glamorous, but it is powerful. Harley-Davidson, on the other hand, builds motorcycles rooted in tradition and identity. That identity comes with higher production costs, more intricate materials, and designs that prioritize character over efficiency. Riders love this character, but the price tags reflect the cost of creating it. Harley cannot match Honda's manufacturing scale, and that difference shows up in the showroom. This imbalance pressures riders weighing real budgets against rising premiums. When similar comfort comes at a lower cost, practicality wins. Honda's pricing advantage does not erase Harley's legacy, but it strains a model built on loyal riders absorbing higher costs. As competition intensifies, that strain becomes impossible to ignore. And the most dangerous pressure point of all comes from the riders who are just entering the market. The long-term loyalty crisis no cruiser brand wants to face. Loyalty in motorcycling does not begin with the first long ride. It begins with the first motorcycle a rider ever trusts. That first experience becomes the blueprint for what a rider expects from every machine that follows. It shapes how they judge reliability, comfort, and the overall feel of the road. This is why the Honda Shine 125 poses a threat far beyond its size or power. It offers a gateway that locks in loyalty before a rider ever considers a heavyweight cruiser. When beginners start on a motorcycle that is easy to handle, inexpensive to maintain, and trouble-free across seasons, they form a bond with the brand that delivered that experience. Years later, when they move up to larger platforms, they follow the path of least resistance. They return to what they know. This pattern has repeated across generations worldwide. Cruiser brands face a crisis without true entry-level machines that build early loyalty. Depending on riders discovering them later is costly when rivals capture customers from the start. This shift cannot be ignored. Once a rider's trust forms around a manufacturer, it tends to stay for life, rarely shifting. This loyalty shift is the alarm bell echoing beneath every announcement shaping the future of motorcycling. How Honda's strategy is strengthening its global position. When you look past the showroom floor and into the global landscape, the picture becomes far more complicated than a simple rivalry between two brands. Honda's moves at EICMA reflect a larger pattern unfolding across multiple markets. Riders in Asia, Europe, South America, and Africa continue to choose lightweight, dependable motorcycles in enormous numbers. And Honda has positioned itself at the center of that demand. For riders who follow international trends, the skepticism is natural. It is hard to imagine how such distant markets could influence American motorcycling. What happens overseas always circles back home. Honda's strength lies in how it adapts to different regions without changing its core philosophy. It builds platforms that thrive in crowded cities, rough road conditions, and long commutes. Then it refines those platforms into models that appeal to riders in countries with entirely different expectations. The consistency of that approach reinforces Honda's global presence year after year. Honda's global momentum creates financial and manufacturing strength few rivals match. Success across many regions funds innovation and lowers costs, and those refined machines eventually reach American showrooms. Worldwide demand builds worldwide power, and that power shapes the future lineups riders will see in the years ahead. And that global strength becomes even more significant when production and geography enter the conversation. The geographic manufacturing pressure Harley cannot ignore. Where a motorcycle is built determines far more than where it ships. It dictates labor costs, material sourcing, policy compliance, and logistical efficiency. Honda has spent decades developing a manufacturing network that spans several continents. That network allows Honda to shift production toward regions with stable policy environments, available labor, and competitive costs. It also lets Honda adjust quickly when one region faces new regulations or supply chain disruptions. Harley-Davidson, by contrast, builds much of its identity around American manufacturing. That commitment carries weight with riders, but it also limits flexibility. When production costs rise, when trade policies shift, or when supply chains tighten, Harley cannot simply relocate entire operations without altering the foundation of its brand. That creates pressure that grows more visible each year. Honda's Geographic strategy is built for global survival. By producing across multiple regions, it lowers risk, stabilizes pricing, and keeps its supply chain steady in turbulent periods. Riders feel it first through model cost, parts availability, and service consistency. Once you see this manufacturing truth, it is impossible to ignore. And that understanding opens the door to a cultural transformation happening closer to home. The evolving identity of American motorcycling. American motorcycling has always carried its own identity, shaped by open highways, long distances, and the culture of freedom that surrounds the lifestyle. Riders choose machines not only for performance, but for the meaning attached to the badge on the tank. Yet that identity is shifting as new generations enter the sport. They value practicality more than symbolism, and reliability more than nostalgia. The rise of Honda loyalty in the United States reflects a cultural transformation that has been building quietly for years. For many younger riders, the motorcycle is no longer a declaration. It is transportation, recreation, and convenience mixed together. They want a machine that fits their life rather than defines it. Riders who grew up during earlier eras may view this shift with mixed feelings, but the change is undeniable. Entry-level models shift new riders toward lighter, simpler machines, softening the influence of traditional heavyweight cruisers. American heritage still holds pride, but the meaning of motorcycling is expanding. The open road remains the heart of riding, yet the machines chosen to experience it are changing for future generations. And those changes lead to a final question every rider must ask themselves moving forward. The real takeaway every rider needs to consider now. Every shift in the market eventually reaches the rider, no matter how distant or abstract it may seem at first. New models, global pressure, cultural trends, and manufacturing strategies all converge on a single point: the experience of owning and riding a motorcycle. The real takeaway is not about choosing one brand over another. It is about understanding how these changes will shape the future of riding for anyone who values the freedom of the road. Riders must consider what matters most to them as the industry evolves. Some will stay loyal to the sound, style, and presence of heavyweight cruisers. Others will look toward practicality, ease of maintenance, and long-term dependability. Neither choice is wrong. What matters is recognizing how quickly the landscape is shifting and how those shifts influence ownership, costs, and the types of machines available. Riders need clarity. The choices manufacturers make today will shape tomorrow's options. Protecting the future of riding means understanding these shifts, not clinging to tradition. This is not about picking sides, but preserving machines that stay accessible and reliable. Honda's announcement is a reminder that the future is being written now. Whether you ride a Harley, a Honda, or anything in between, what happened at EICMA should make every rider pay attention. The future of motorcycling is shifting fast, and if Harley wants to stay in the fight, they'll need to listen to the riders who carried them this far. Guys like you, let me know in the comments what you think Harley's next move should be. And if you got value out of this deep dive, go ahead and hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell